As a council, we remain committed to ensuring the safety of our children, and we thank you for your fierce advocacy and partnership on these important bills. Resolution 563B, sponsored by Councilmember Pierina Sanchez, would call upon the New York State Assembly to pass and the governor to sign S. 6225, A. 3899A, which would tighten regulations, enhance inspections, and provide training and resources to daycare providers and parents to ensure the safety of children in daycare homes, programs, and facilities across New York State. Introduction 1041A, sponsored by Councilmember Sanchez, would require DOHMH to conduct an annual outreach campaign to inform parents and legal guardians about their rights regarding their children in child care programs in New York City. And Introduction 1042A, also sponsored by Councilmember Sanchez, would require DOHMH to report annually on training provided to their employees who inspect child care programs. I invite Councilmember Sanchez, who I know this legislation is near and dear to her heart, to the podium to discuss her important bills today.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Nearly 2 years have passed since the heartbreaking loss of one-year-old Nicholas Feliz Dominici, a radiant, joyful child whose life was stolen by fentanyl exposure in a licensed daycare facility. Nicholas should be here today. His parents, Zoila and Otoniel, did everything right. They placed their trust in a system that should have protected their son. But that trust was betrayed, and their family's world was shattered forever. The depth of their pain is unimaginable, and our entire city continues to mourn alongside with them. Today's passage of Intros 1041 and 1042 is rooted in the courage of Nicholas's family. It's born out of their willingness to turn their unimaginable grief into action to keep other children safe. Intro 1041 will ensure that parents are informed of their rights in daycare facilities. Zoila and Otoniel had the right to enter and inspect Nicholas's daycare, and they were denied that right. Intro 1042 will require public reporting on the training provided to child care inspectors, strengthening both oversight and transparency. Excuse me. These are steps toward a future where no family has to endure such a tragedy. Because there is still more to do, today we are also passing Resolution 563 of 2024, which calls on the state legislature to pass and the governor to sign my colleagues' bills, A3899 by Assemblymember George Alvarez and Senate Bill 6225 by Senator Gustavo Rivera. Critical legislation to further strengthen daycare center inspections, improve provider training, and enhance transparency for families. I thank you, Speaker Adams, for moving these pieces of legislation forward, for championing these measures. And I also want to thank District Attorney Darcel Clark in the Bronx and the attorneys of the U.S. Southern District, whose prosecutorial work has together resulted already in 100 years of prison time for the depraved criminals responsible in this case. But our work is far from finished. We must bring more federal, state, and city resources to confront the devastating violence and illegal drug trade that claimed Nicholas's life, who would be 4 this December, just a few months older than my own son. The West Bronx Community Safety Partnership, which I founded in Nicholas's honor last year and will secure millions to fight on behalf of our community, was founded in honor of Nicholas Feliz Dominici. And it reminds us that we are bound together in the fight for safety and justice. Nicholas's light will never fade. In his memory and in solidarity with his family, we will keep working until every child is safe and no parent has to bear this kind of loss ever again. Thank you, Speaker.
Introduction 422A, sponsored by Councilmember Carlina Rivera, would require the Office of Technology and Innovation to create a rooftop activity category on the city's 311 website and 311 mobile device application. And Introduction 1100A, sponsored by Councilmember Carlina Rivera, would require the Department of Social Services to amend eligibility criteria to include any period of time detained in a city jail, state prison, or residential mental health treatment facility as time a person has been homeless for the purposes of qualifying for an existing supportive housing program administered and wholly funded by the city. Supportive housing remains one of the most effective solutions to provide stability for people facing a range of challenges, yet these barriers to eligibility for justice-involved New Yorkers has limited their access. This bill is a step towards removing these barriers to housing that is a stabilizing force to make our city safer and ensure more successful reentry from the justice system. I invite Councilmember Rivera to the podium to discuss her legislation.
Thank you so much, everyone. First, let me just talk briefly about securing rooftop safety. In 2021, we actually had multiple deaths in my district from people falling to their death from their rooftops. And we are trying our best to ensure that while in New York City, we love being outside in al fresco, that we also are ensuring everyone's safety and that there is accountability across residential and commercial buildings. So this would use technology and city services to ensure that we're keeping track of any challenges or problems. Again, good afternoon. I want to thank Speaker Adams always for her leadership and the continued commitment specifically in terms of access to affordable housing and criminal justice reform. The bill that we're passing today, Intro 1100, is a simple, powerful change that can help break the cycle of homelessness and incarceration for thousands of New Yorkers. Right now, if you're homeless and you're sent to Rikers, a state prison, or a court-ordered mental facility, that time doesn't count towards your homeless history for supportive housing eligibility. The clock resets, even if you were living on the street the day before you were detained, or if you have nowhere to go when you're released. Instead of getting stable housing and care, too many are pushed back into shelters or on the streets. That's why with CSH, the Supportive Housing Network of New York, Fortune Society, and New Yorkers with lived experience, I crafted a bill that requires that time spent in jail, state prisons, or court-ordered mental health facilities counts towards the homelessness history requirement for city-funded supportive housing if the person was homeless before and will likely be homeless after release. This bill is targeted, it's evidence-based, and it applies only to supportive housing programs that are fully funded by the city and that require both a diagnosis of serious mental illness or substance use disorder and those who have a history of homelessness. The facts are clear. Homelessness is 10 times more common among formerly incarcerated people than the general public. 1/3 of individuals admitted to New York City jails last year were unhoused before incarceration, and nearly 70% of people on Rikers who could benefit from supportive housing are shut out because of the chronic homelessness definition. So imagine if you are someone trying to stabilize your life and being told you're not homeless enough. It costs over $500,000 a year to incarcerate someone, but supportive housing saves public dollars, and we all know that it changes lives. We have a responsibility to recognize incarceration as a form of housing instability and to remove the systemic barriers that keep people trapped in a vicious cycle of jail, homelessness, and back again. This bill makes sure that when individuals leave, they can access the housing and services they need to stabilize, instead of returning to the conditions that led them to jail in the first place. I want to thank my colleagues for their support and, of course, the legislative team. I also want to thank Eddie Amador, my legislative director. I have passed 44 local laws. This will be my 44th bill, mostly on housing and mostly on criminal justice. And this is a really great intersection of both on an issue that's a simple policy change that's going to really make a difference. So I want to thank you, Eddie, and I want to thank the Speaker for your leadership on this issue.
Thank you. Okay. we're receiving from the mayor at today's stated meeting. There were the two bills that the mayor vetoed yesterday: Introduction 1133A and Introduction 1135A, which would establish minimum pay standards and protections for grocery delivery workers. Late last month, the mayor also vetoed Introduction 47B, which would end criminal misdemeanor penalties for street vendors. These vetoes, once again, demonstrate how the mayor is failing to serve New Yorkers and the public interest since his own administration, recommended these bills, negotiated them, and supported their passage during the entire legislative process. As Donald Trump's horrific attacks on our immigrant communities continue, it is critical that we prevent and reduce unnecessary interactions with the criminal justice system that can leave New Yorkers exposed to ICE. Introduction 47B fulfilled a recommendation of the administration's own Street Vendor Advisory Board to codify the shift in street vendor enforcement from using criminal charges to civil charges and fines. And the council accepted all of the administration's requested changes. With the vast majority of street vendors being immigrants and 80% of criminal enforcement disproportionately being borne by Black and Latino New Yorkers, Introduction 47B is essential to keeping communities safe and preventing people from facing the barriers to education, employment, housing, and immigration status caused by criminal records. The mayor's claim that this prevents any enforcement of street vending rules is inaccurate, as civil offenses and fines do remain. But unnecessarily criminalizing New Yorkers for pursuing economic opportunity only hurts our city. And if we think about the vendor that is selling apples and oranges, just think about it. The mayor's veto is yet another example of advancing Donald Trump's agenda instead of serving New Yorkers. Introductions 1133A and 1135A are a part of the council's third phase in advancing a sustainable delivery sector for our city. They would extend the same wage and workplace protections food delivery workers currently enjoy to grocery delivery workers. They are central to the businesses that are a fast-growing part of the delivery sector. Major parts of these bills, here we go again, were recommended by the mayor's own report. His administration testified in support of them and enthusiastically commended the council for advancing them. Why are we here? These bills are about protecting working-class New Yorkers from the exploitation of poverty wages as a result of businesses treating workers as independent contractors. Mayor Adams chose to side with corporate special interests over workers and the nearly 20,000 working people these laws would protect. It was just reported that on Instagram's quarterly earnings call, its executives told shareholders, are we ready for this? It was increasing profits by, quote, squeezing workers. With these vetoes, Mayor Adams is facilitating the exploitation of workers in our city. The mayor's actions tell us that he believes these hardworking New Yorkers should continue being paid poverty wages and leave them reliant on public assistance, and that they don't even deserve access to bathrooms. It is disgraceful. Despite ongoing efforts to deceive the public, these bills do not increase the cost of groceries, because this is about delivery services. Any decision to increase or tack on additional delivery fees, which the corporations control, is about padding their own profits and not about the cost of groceries. Be not deceived. By not paying workers a minimum standard wage, these corporations and Mayor Adams, by extension, are forcing them to rely on public assistance and tips, costs that are passed on to customers and other New Yorkers. We must be clear. This is a fight between equity and exploitation. This council has chosen the side of equity for workers, while the mayor has chosen to fuel their exploitation. The mayor's vetoes are anti-worker and anti-working class, aligning him once again with Donald Trump's agenda. He cannot claim to care about working-class New Yorkers or establishing a sustainable delivery sector, while also blocking fair wages and protections for the workers who make this sector possible. The hypocrisy of his claims are on full display for all to see. Time and time again, the mayor is showing he is not governing for the people of this city. Our council always will step up to protect New Yorkers and put their interests first. There is no New York City without our workers, and their labor must be valued. They deserve to live with dignity, opportunity, and safety, despite what our historically unpopular mayor believes. And while our women majority, historically diverse city council will fight to make sure of it, because we know workers are the backbone of our city. When workers thrive, so do our communities and our city. I'm so proud to support these bills, and we look forward to overriding the mayor's senseless anti-worker vetoes in the coming weeks yet again. That does conclude our stated agenda. And with that, we'll take on topic questions on the bills that we're voting on and the vetoes we're accepting.
Yes, we'll move on topic first on the vetoes and the bills. Are there any questions after that? All right, Jack, go first.
Why do you think the mayor, I mean, was he lobbied by Instacart, or like, why did he change his mind on this?
Jeff, you're the journalist. You're supposed to have the intel for us. You tell us why. Seriously, I don't know. I don't know. It boggles the mind when this council continues to work, and you all know this as journalists, that we work with the administration on the legislation that we pass for over 8 million New Yorkers. The administration was for this legislation until they were not a few days ago. So we don't understand what happened. We will continue to fight for workers in the city.
Speaker, in light of daycare, we see that the Trump administration wants to actually prevent undocumented children from signing up for Head Start.
Is this on topic?
Well, no, I thought.
The bills
Okay, sorry.
and the vetoes.
We'll come back to
We'll come back.
It's okay.
So you mentioned that this is part of, that the bills that he vetoed were part of the third phase of the council's efforts. Can you elaborate a little on that? Are there more than 3 phases?
Sure, we'll catch you up. We have passed legislation that have already taken care of our app delivery service providers, our fast food providers. This is the final phase in that series, and including the grocery delivery workers. Yeah.
Thank you. I was just wondering if you can go go into a little bit on what the timing is going to be on these overrides, how soon the council will actually act on that. And if I may, while on the topic of vetoes, the council opted not to override the Bally's veto. Can you just explain a little bit what the thinking was there and why you let that veto stand?
Sure. With the Bally's situation, the council did not have an appetite to continue in the process of override or to begin a process of override. We don't have the final say-so. So it didn't make any sense for us to go forward to fight on that. As far as the override process, we're going to try to do this as quickly as we can, so stay tuned.
I'll go back to on the timing.
Yeah.
Does that mean September 10th stated meeting, or is it potential, or would you potentially convene members earlier than that?
More than likely the September timeframe, yeah.
Any other on topic on the vetoes or the bills? Okay, I'm gonna give members a chance to split. They've been saying it for a while.
Or not.
I'm staying for this. On topic, Bob.
Stand right next to him. Speaker, parents are looking towards the fall to make plans. We understand the Trump administration wants to prevent undocumented children from participating in Head Start. Well, will that have the effect from your experience of forcing, I don't know, there's a lot of illegal daycare centers. Will this force these families to seek those? And also, are you concerned about what this means in terms of further tearing the social fabric of the city of New York?
Wow. Bob, you posed such great questions and things that we actually have to take into consideration. This administration is intent on harming not just the, adults of the city and the nation, but also the children, obviously, when it comes to childcare, when it comes to food, when it comes to a lot of other things as well. We are, and we've said this, in weeks and months prior, that we have to take each day with this administration as it comes, because we never know what's around the corner. As far as childcare for the children of the city of New York, this council is going to do what we always have done, and that is going to be to continue to fight for the children, documented or undocumented. We are going to hope that that parents do not, hide their children or keep their children from coming into the school system where they are safe. And once again, we are a women majority council, so we are going to continue, and the men that get it, we're going to continue, to fight for the children and our families.
Across the street here at 26 Federal Plaza, Judge Kaplan ordered the Justice Department and ICE to, I guess they're kind of running an illegal detention center. Since land use is so clearly in the city council's purview, is there anything that you can do? Because it appears that, like if it was across the street Broadway and some private landlord wanted to say, we're going to hold people here overnight, there would be some course. Is there anything you can do to force code enforcement so that the judge's order is maintained?
That is something that we would have to get back to you on. As far as I can see, that would not be something in the council's jurisdiction.
On the rider's law, the bill that would outlaw horse carriages in New York City, are there plans to hold a hearing on that, and if not, why?
We are still taking a look at doing that. We know that this bill has been, with us for a time. It is a very complex issue, as you know, Chris, and we are still working through this, speaking to lots of entities when it comes to the legislation, when it comes to the industry itself, which also has to be considered. So it's going through the legislative process. That is always our answer when it comes to bills that we are continuing to work with.
So no commitment at this time for a hearing?
At this time, we are continuing to work through the process.
Any other questions? Jeff, finish us off.
What do you think of the mayor's push to expand involuntary commitment to those with drug addiction? Have you had a chance to read up on this yet?
I have not. I heard about it kind of passing on New York One, and that is all I heard. So we'll have to take a look at it and figure out what it's all about. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Is Carlina Rivera resigning, and do you want to say some words about it?
I love Carlina Rivera. We started in this council together, and I'm sure at her time, she will inform you of her